Good evening. I'd like to call this regular select board meeting to order. It is October 9th, 2018, 7 p.m. We are in the Callahan room. And at this point in time, those who are able stand to do the pledge. John, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nice job, guys.
Can I have the roll call, please?
John Bartles.
Here.
Robert Bishop.
Here.
Edward Hullip.
Here.
Mark Strout.
Here.
John Boyle.
Here.
Okay, we have minutes from October 1st, 2018 to approve. And this was a special meeting that we held at Nessicus prior to the special town meeting.
Okay, I make a motion that we accept the minutes for October 1st as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion or revisions of the minutes? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. This is a time when the public may address the board on any item listed on the meeting agenda or on any issue or matter of the town. If you intend on addressing the board at this time, we ask that you do the following. Please identify yourself by name, address, or company institution you represent. The public address to the board segment will last no longer than 30 minutes. Please make your comments concise and try not to repeat statements made by others. Please address your comments to the board chair. Discussion or debate on any issue may not take place at this time. Questions on procedural matters may be answered by the chair or their designee. Please be cordial and respectful of others. If anyone wishes to be recognized when an agenda item is discussed by the board, please make the request at this time. This request may be granted by the board chair. Address your comments to the board chair and be concise. Is there anyone who would like to address the board at this time?
Hi, Richard Hall, 164 Greenridge Drive. Can I be recognised on item number 8? Please.
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
If we're officially on.
Oh, you're on the agenda. I'm sorry, you're on the agenda. You'll be recognized at the time of the. Yes. Yeah, I should clarify that. If you're specifically on the agenda and it's input that we are looking for on that agenda item from people other than the 5 of us sitting here, yes.
Okay.
You'll be asked to answer questions or make comments. Anybody else?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just recognize representatives from Beckett are here. They may want to discuss on number 13.
Yes, well, that was our intention as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Filio. Anybody else?
Mr. Chair, maybe you want to move the master plan to a little bit later in the meeting rather than number 9, just so that some of the people wouldn't have to stay for it.
Okay. Well, when I or you think it's a good time, just let me know.
Very late.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, thank you. Well, tonight is a kind of a special occasion for a group of boys, and here comes one right now. Members of PAC 42 are here to earn a requirement for their. Well, I'll let their den leader explain it, who is Tim Crocker, who is with us. And there's 3 or 4 boys that are here that will be doing this, achieving this requirement for their
correct
elevation into the next level of Cub Scouts.
These are Cub Scouts. These are the Arrow Lights den. These 3 have been with the pack almost since the beginning. This one has been in our pack since kindergarten. He is now in 5th grade. And this is their step towards Boy Scouts. Next step is Boy Scouts. They'll cross over in February. For this requirement, they have to learn about government and how the government works in the town of Dalton. And they have one specific question that they would like to ask the board. And I'll let my patrol leader jump up. He's been elected by his other scouts as the patrol leader. They had their own election. And he has one question, and we hope that you can answer it for us.
I hope so too. And
This would be embarrassing.
before we get on with the question, if we can introduce the boys that are here.
Absolutely. This is, stand up please. This is Benjamin Westlake.
Benjamin?
This is Thomas Connors. And this is Christopher Crocker.
Very good.
Chris, you have a question? Stand up, be recognized.
What is the energy concern in the town of Dalton?
Well, we have one expert at least, and a lot of people who would like to be experts on this board, I would say, and that's Mr. Holland, who is very much involved with energy issues within our town. But off the top of my head, we've been working to save electricity through the purchase of our streetlights. But I'd like Ed to maybe elaborate on more, or that, if he would.
Right. Well, certainly there are more efficient lights than what we currently have and are utilizing in the town. And fortunately, the town of Dalton was fortunate enough to get a grant from the green communities that allows us to switch out and pay a large percentage of the cost of switching to newer light bulbs that will reduce our electricity. I believe something by at least 40%. We have Richard Hall, who would know the exact projection of the reduction on the electricity. Is it 40% or?
It's about 40%.
40% reduction. So that's a very a great savings in electricity every year. That'd be about $40,000 savings. It also has the advantage of requiring less electricity to be produced. So there'd be less greenhouse gases that would be let into the atmosphere because we'll be using less electricity. The street lights consume the most electricity of anything in the town that the town itself is responsible for. The other things that they have done is they've done some more insulating of buildings that would cut down on heat loss, so there would be less need to burn fossil fuels to heat the buildings.
Now, one of those buildings that we just awarded a contract was this one for insulation.
And we also are, looking at alternate sources of energy. We have tried several times to have solar fields be installed in the town, and I hope that we will continue to try. We have as yet not been successful in that effort. I hope that gives you a bit of an overview. And I would hope someday you would think seriously of joining these. There's a green Dalton committee that meets once a month and tries to see where we can cut down on energy without any really loss of service or convenience. So I'm glad you're interested. That is a very good question. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. As long as you stay, and as I was explaining before, you don't have to stay for the whole meeting, although this will be riveting. No, but seriously, you can stay as long as you wish, and any time that you do wish to leave, you can just get up and go. And during the time that you're here, I'm going to allow us, a special consideration to the group that if you have a question during any of this discussion that we may have here, please just raise your hand to be recognized and ask a question. Okay? Is there anything you'd like to go over more before we go on with the meeting? Okay. Well, thank you for being here, and good luck in your scouting career. It's great to go through, and as I was telling you, my sons went through it, and then Mr. Bishop's sons went through it, became Eagles. I'm not sure about the other group if they have relatives that have also had the experience, but there's a lot to be said for scouting, and good job. I'm glad you're with it. So. Okay. I'm going to move up one thing because John Wood from Eversource is here, and he has another commitment and asked if he could be moved up, and I told him that we could. So the item number 8, and Richard, you said you wanted to be recognized on this, is up at this point in time. And if I could, just a preamble here to give a little background. This was a request through the cemetery trustees to remove a guy wire pole which is in the center, actually it's right in the center of East Main Street Cemetery. And we're doing work up at East Main Street Cemetery to fix the stones, clear out the land, and it's the oldest cemetery in town, and it's just it's a historical cemetery, and having the guy wire pole just doesn't make it, and that's why we asked or made the request through Eversource to do this, and they came up with a pretty good idea. I didn't think that they could do this, but it's great. And I'll let Mr. Wood from Eversource explain what is going to go on.
Thank you, Select Board.
Yeah.
Town folk. My name is John Wood, and I'm the representative from Eversource. I actually met out on site. Eversource is proposing to change the pole that's the first pole that's on Jennings Ave and move it back 12 feet towards Main Street. The big problem with removing it, we call it a stub pole with a guy wire. There's so much tension that's on Jennings Ave that would actually pull Main Street's three-phase towards Jennings Ave. And where that pole is situated, it really wouldn't be a good thing. There's a couple maple trees that are out there. So we're requesting that we actually move the one pole that is actually next to, I believe it's house 989. It's next to their driveway, moving it back 12 feet and actually putting a guy wire and an anchor in the ground next to it so that we can retain tension back on what's continuing down Jennings Ave. And that way we can remove the pole that's in the cemetery and the guy wires that run across Main Street. We went over several options with the town water line that's there. There's fire hydrant there, water mains. There isn't really a lot of real estate to basically do what you want to do and actually maintain our service on that street. And that's what we're proposing. It's probably the littlest impact to what's out there.
Okay. And the pole that you're moving, as I remember, is right on the corner of the home's driveway, so it's going to be moved away from the driveway?
Yes, that was the other thing that we were taking into consideration. Having a pole next to your driveway, it's dead of winter time, having somebody plow your driveway or whatever, it benefits us, it benefits the homeowner that it's not actually on their driveway. So that was probably the least evasive that we could actually do.
When do you think you would, if this is approved and everything?
Once everything's signed off, you're probably looking at maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks out to actually complete the work.
Okay. Anything else?
And that's weather dependent.
Yeah.
Because we live in Berkshire County and nothing's you can't take it for granted.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Hall?
Hi. So yeah, that seems a good plan. I have two questions. At the moment, those wires are against that tree that's between the one that's on the street and the one that's in Jennings Ave. So is there going to be movement so that it's not resting against the tree any longer?
It's actually, I believe we're actually out away from the tree. It's actually Verizon wires that are actually closest to the tree. So we set the pole so we're out just a little bit away from the main trunk and the main line that comes out of it.
Cool. And the other question, which I think has been asked a number of times, and Ken may know the answer to this, is there's a lot of double poles around town at the moment, and that And as you know, they're meant to be dealt with within 90 days. And I don't know if there's an update been given to our town manager, because it's been requested a number of times, and now we're seeing poles that are up over a year.
Anything that has wire that's still on them, we own half the poles, Verizon owns the other half of the poles. We can't actually move anything else until Verizon, Spectrum cable, anybody else that's attached to it, to actually transfer over to the new poles. And once that's done, they actually notify us. And then we have an outside contractor that actually comes through and removes the rest of the poles. If there's poles that have absolutely nothing on it, I can get in touch with you and give you my email address.
I think I have it. It was on your card.
Yep.
Yeah, and
If there's a concern, we can send it off to our operations.
so once the wires are transferred and there's nothing on the pole, it's Eversource's responsibility to pull the poles?
Correct. This is our set area, so we actually are the ones that are going around and setting all the new poles.
Okay.
But unfortunately, we're the last ones to remove the rest of the pole. And it's like a paper trail. Verizon goes through, and once they transfer, they're usually like the last ones to transfer. They'll cut off the rest of the pole from their wires down, and we'll send a contractor out and they'll remove the rest of the poles.
All set with you?
Yeah, I guess the question is, how do we get the other people to take their wires off the poles so that they can finish their job? Because it seems that they've got 90 days to do it.
Is there a contact with Verizon? It seems like Verizon is your...
We have an internal contact, but Verizon's not situated, they're not as big as we are in this area. So we can't control how much they do.
Well, is there someone that we can contact? Let's put it that way.
I can find somebody for you to contact.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one of our young gentlemen, looks like he has a question.
Oh, okay. Yes.
By the way, what if they don't agree to it? What benefits would it affect for you?
Oh, that's an excellent question. Actually, they actually buy into the pole, so they're actually losing financial responsibilities with it. So they actually lose money when they don't. They originally agreed to all this stuff ahead of time, and on the back end they agree to transfer to the new poles. So they actually invest in the new poles, and they would only be losing money on it.
Can I have his name?
Thomas
Thomas Connor? Yes.
Yeah.
Connors.
Thank you.
Thank you. Members?
That was
Any
the question.
questions?
That was the question I was going to ask.
Really?
Yeah. That's something. I bet you it happens more than once.
Any other members have comments or questions?
I think it's a solid plan.
Yeah, I want to thank you for moving this along. I thought it was rather quick once we had that site visit. Well, thanks for doing this.
Absolutely.
So, can I have a...
I make a motion to let Eversource do their pole relocations.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made to allow Eversource to do the pole relocation on Jennings Avenue and East Main Street Cemetery. Any further questions or comments? Yes,
Just one
Mr.
comment, John. Maybe at some point in time, the cemetery trustee could update the board on what's going on East Main Street.
Yes, that would be
Thank you.
great. Yeah, will do. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Okay. Next is a review of the ZBA petition number 557 with regard to 444 Main Street. And with us, we have representatives from CRA, Berry Architects, and I'm sorry, I can't remember.
Milltown Capital.
Milltown Capital. With us today to answer questions that the board may have. We did look at the plans, on the 1st of October, and there were questions that some of the board members had, and I I'm not really sure if you want to give an explanation. I know what you want to do. Maybe what we should start out with is questions from the board, and I'll open it up to members.
I have several questions.
Go right ahead. Well, we'll start at that end of the table. We'll go this way here.
We are the Board of Selectmen, and we are a direct abutter to this property. And we are involved with the CRA administration and distribution of recreational programs by our town contribution. We just feel, I think the board feels the same way, we would have liked to have had an overview, a vision, or a scope of what's going on next door. Because all we heard was rumors that this guy did this and this guy's going to do that and blah, 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 blah. And that's all we want. I mean, of course we support this and we support the CRA. But we really need to know what's happening overall. And maybe this isn't the time or place. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, please, go ahead.
I'm very much in favor of the plan. My one concern was that, and this isn't the CRA's really anyway responsibility the way it has happened, but there's very limited parking for the library now. And I like the idea that you're going to open up and make the path more livable to the house. I mean, right now it doesn't look very inviting to walk from the street. But my concern would be that there'd be more cars parked on that street, and it might be more difficult to use the library. And I was wondering if you could address that.
Sure. So my name is Carolyn Holland. I'm a managing director at Milltown Capital. And Milltown Capital is an investment firm that's focused specifically on providing economic development and community development dollars to the Berkshires, with a very heavy focus on the central Berkshire communities, primarily Pittsfield and Dalton. The sole member and limited partner of Milltown is a Dalton native, Mr. Dave Mixer. He grew up in Dalton and enjoyed a lot of time in the CRA and the Boys and Girls Club. And he's recently come back to the area and is very interested in helping build small businesses, entrepreneurial efforts, as well as some philanthropic community development projects. So he's the primary driver of this transformation of what we've been calling the Kittredge House. We're changing that from a residential into a public use, so it'll integrate directly into the CRA campus and eventually transition full ownership to the CRA for use of their programs and some additional programs that this new facility will allow. Here's, I brought a few overview slides, just a couple for those who aren't familiar with the overview. We had a few unofficial and official community gatherings where we went over in more detail the plans for the property. And just very, very quickly, the vision is that the property at 44 Main Street will be transferred to the CRA. So then there will be a continuous campus from the community house, which will go directly into property abutting that the trustees own, into the Kittredge House, which will then be CRA property, and directly into the DYC, which is also CRA property. So it'll be a full continuous campus that will be open for community use. The CRA will be the primary driver, really, of all the programming that will happen at the house, and it will be extensions. We envision extensions of their programs, some new additional programs that they'll finally have space to support, and also it'll provide the opportunity for other community partners to operate in Dalton. So currently, for instance, there are a few community partners focused on health, some culture and arts programs in South County, and they are eager to get up into central and northern Berkshire, and so this will provide them a space to do that. For example, CHP is interested in coming up and using the house, CATA, BCARC, so it'll really be a great asset for other community partners to come and provide their services to Dalton in partnership with the CRA. Now, we met with the zoning board last Tuesday, and they asked that we come and speak with you as well. So the overview of the parking, our vision is that really just the first floor will be used for community space, and those will all really remain intact with the really beautiful historic nature of the house. So in doing that, it'll be really like small group gatherings, maybe some art classes, some small lectures, maybe some after-school tutoring programs. And to allow that to happen, we need to put ADA bathrooms and a sloped walkway to the front so that it'll be accessible for everybody to use. So that's really the primary building change. There'll be 2 ADA bathrooms built into currently where there's a butler's pantry, and it's not really functional for what we envision. And as well as a sloped walkway that allow handicap accessibility, wheelchair accessibility to the front of the house. In terms of parking, we've allotted for 20 spaces, and I'm sure John can weigh in on this as well.
Well, we did a calculation of what the occupancy will be of the building based on the proposed uses, and we went to the actual zoning, regulations of the town of Dalton, and calculated what we needed for spaces, which came out to be 19 spaces. As Carrie said, we've allowed for 20 spaces. 2 of them will be inside the garage, which is currently there. So actually I think it's 21, 19 outside spaces plus 2 additional spaces inside the garage. There's a big, beautiful lawn in front of the building, and we could take more of that to develop more parking, but the feeling was that is kind of that's a nice asset in the town of Dalton to have that lawn right in the middle of the property, especially the function that's the CRA or the athletics that goes on around there, and maybe a space that could be used for many uses, sports or any potential use out there. So we tried to stay away from that as much as possible, but still allotted for the required spaces based on the proposed use, parking spaces.
And then another piece I'll add is that because it'll be linking to the community house and the DYC, there will also be able to utilize those parking lots as well. And in terms of adding spaces to Dalton, we will be adding 20 additional public spaces to the downtown area, whereas that was previously residential. And we've actually Allison's spoken with the library, and we'd love to do joint programming so they can use the parking at the Kittredge House for those types of events. And so in reality, we really see that this will be added parking for the downtown area.
That sounds very good, thank you.
We have a question from Thomas.
Yes.
Hi. By the way, can you estimate how many square feet this parking space will be?
Oh, that's a great question.
Well, Thomas, each parking space will be approximately 9 foot by 20 foot, which would be 180 square feet. So if you have 20 spaces, what's that, 2,600 square feet for the parking spaces. Plus you have the driveway that comes in front of it, which will be approximately another, say 10 feet wide by 9 feet, another 100 square feet for space. So another 20, that's 2,000. So there will be about 5,000 square feet of parking space and driveway that's going to be added to this property. Although there's currently quite a lot of driveway in that property, so we're probably not going to be adding that much. Probably only about 4,000 is my guess.
Thanks, good question.
Thank you. Could you clarify, this is not a, correct me if I'm wrong, you're not changing the zoning of the property, but the use? Is this a zoning use change, or specifically, could you define that?
It's going from a residential use to a business use, based on the building code.
Yeah.
Which my understanding is that it's an allowed use by special permit of the zoning bylaws.
That's right.
So we have to go and get the special permit to get the change in use.
Thank you.
Hopefully that's correct.
Yeah, I have several questions. Yeah. Why do you need a business use?
Well, it's going to be used by, just the use of the CRA is classified as a business use. You're going to have office spaces, you're going to have things that are business functions in there as opposed to a residential function. So that's the use it's going to fall under as a general use.
I think that's the part where I'm confused. We've had a CRA here which operated in the same type of operation as you just described for 80 years. They never had to have a business use or have a zoning change or a special permit.
This is just as it relates to that property.
Right, I understand that. Yeah, I just don't understand why you need business use now to have offices.
I'm sure if you ask the building inspector, the CRA is classified as a business use in the building code.
Really?
Really.
Did not know that. I thought it was a recreational use or a governmental function.
They don't have a recreational use.
No, but, okay, governmental functions are allowed in residential zones.
Yeah, that's the zoning law. I'm talking about the building codes, the state building codes. There's different things.
What you're saying is the building inspector told you needed a special permit.
Building inspector told us you need a special permit based on the use group of the new building.
Okay, thank you. The second part of my question is, this is a transition, and I saw a note today from our planning department. We have a very able planning department. Perhaps they could have assisted you in planning for this project, particularly as it pertains to parking. But I'll get back to that in a second. This is going to take 5 years to transition, approximately?
Yeah, the commitment of the donor basically is to ensure that this property reaches through a mixture of program and grants and other revenue generating activity that will become sustainable before it is transitioned to the CRA, so that it doesn't become an accidental anchor financially for the CRA organization.
Okay. In 5 years, this is going to be a tax-exempt property when you deed it to the CRA. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. And when you say sustainable, and it's not a business entity, so sustainable usually means making a profit that will support the organization as it is in place. So what does the word sustainable mean in relation to this project?
We see sustainability as basically covering carrying costs for the property. It's an older property. It's got heating costs, electricity costs, some maintenance and landscaping costs. So all of that, we've figured a specific number that we'd like to reach enough program revenue to offset that number. And once that's even, then we'll feel more comfortable and work with the CRA very, very closely to make sure that they're comfortable as well.
You're saying that programs that originate from that building will have to sustain the cost after 5 years, and not the CRA as a whole?
So we're working with the CRA. The CRA will be able to bring their programs there as well. So we're really wanting to ensure that through this asset, enough revenue overall will be generated to offset the cost of carrying that from year to year.
And I have one final issue.
Okay.
I think my colleague Ed Allen sugarcoated it. There's a real demand for parking in this specific area around the town hall. The town hall actually encroaches, as you well know, on CRA property down below here, on the bank's property, on the phone's property. The library only has parking spaces in the street. Now, if you add these programs to this building directly adjacent to this, we will end up with a parking situation that usurps the parking spots on Main Street, starts parking on Mill Street, which is a narrow downhill street. And I just think that the type of events I've seen at the CRA deserves more than 18 parking places. And I think you should consider, and you're right about the lawn being a big asset, but you may need to utilize that. And why don't you consider utilizing what's known as the Glendon lot, which is adjacent to both pieces of property, for additional parking?
I think all of this is great for consideration, and if the programs are so successful that it becomes a huge issue, I think that's something that we could consider. But right now, with the dispersion of the parking available at the community house, the Kittredge House, the DYC, we believe for now, and the cadence of the programming, that it won't be an issue. And in fact, for certain town hall events, because that's a community space, we'd be happy to welcome town hall people to use those parking spaces as well.
One final question, sorry. In relation to that, if people utilizing the town hall services or whatever's going on here are allowed to utilize the parking spaces on that property, 444 Main Street, will there be a avenue or an entryway between here, between 440 Main Street and the town hall?
There won't be we don't envision a direct access through the current screening that's created by the trees, but there will be access via Main Street, and we also envision a walkway that will connect the Kittredge House to the DYC, and so that will be that's directly outside this wall really, so that will be a quick way to access as well.
But how hard would it be to cut an entryway right here? So people can directly access the town hall without walking out in the winter out to the sidewalk, all the way down the sidewalk and around.
I think again that's perhaps something for consideration in the future. For now, it's such a beautifully enclosed area, but I think there's opportunities for that in the future. And with the access by the library, I think that should be convenient.
So the plan is to run a fence along the property line all the way down to the Main Street?
There's no current fence there, and we do not intend to put any fence up.
Thank you. You've been very patient.
Yeah, no.
You have a question, the gentleman.
We have two questions.
By the way, how much do you think this will cost?
Good question.
Ooh. That is a great question.
Maybe you guys should sit up.
Very great boy. So the property was purchased for $450,000. And that will be a donation made by the donor, so that's considered a big chunk of the cost of the project. And we think it may cost an additional $400,000 to do all of the work required, including the ADA, the ramps, fixing up the landscape, making sure there's proper safe ways of travel between the CRA buildings, and making sure that the inside is appropriate for community use. So big investment, a total of up to about $850,000, I think.
Well, how are you going to get this money here? That's the thing.
Yes, these are good questions.
That's good.
So
Because I don't think the town of Dalton has that much.
you are. That's right. So I'm very lucky to work with a guy named Dave Mixer, and he grew up in Dalton, just a few blocks down the street, and he studied really hard in school and worked very hard as an adult, and he did quite well in the business world, and now he's feeling very generous towards Dalton because he loves where he grew up, and he'd like to make this gift himself. So it's not so much that the town has to pay the cost. He's going to do it out of his own money.
So does he have that much money? Because that's a lot of money.
He does indeed. It is a lot of money, yeah. He's being very generous with his gift. Yeah.
All right, I think that's all. So actually, no, I have one more question.
Okay.
So is this supposed to take up? So is this supposed to go down like to the main road all the way to the back to like this DYC building?
Yeah. So the property is right next door, and it's got a driveway that connects from Mill Street and also School Street. And then it's got a walkway that connects from Main Street. And then what we would like to do is create a pathway that will connect from that house right to the DYC. If there's some trees maybe that we'd have to remove and put a nice walkway and some stairs. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Christopher, did you have one?
How much square feet is it?
For the house?
Yes.
I believe the house is about 6,000 square feet or so.
I have another question. How many square feet will it just be like in total, like the whole row, like the whole entire facility, like not just the parking space, but like the whole entire thing is?
Okay, so this will be a good math problem that you guys should take back with you. So the whole plot of land, the whole property plot is 2 acres.
Oh.
So you should find out how many square feet are in 1 acre? And then,
48.
oh, there you go. That's times 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
496.
There you go. So that's, so yeah, 1 acre times 2, so 2 acres total, square footage of that, that's how much it'll be.
That's a lot.
It's a good chunk of property, right?
That's a good quarter of a mile or so. Yeah, that's a lot.
Are there any other questions from the board?
I don't, other than say that I applaud everybody that's involved in this project, and the CRA is a great partnership to partner with the town, and I support this and look forward to getting it moving.
I totally support it too, and I've known Dave, I went to school with Dave Mixer, and he's just a great guy, and it's really great to see him come back to town and do something so neat, and everything you guys are doing too, so, thank you.
I would say if there is a problem with the parking, it can be worked out after it gets after you get going. We can work that out.
I hope you do have a problem with the parking. I really
That'd be
do.
a great thing.
Yeah, it would be a great thing.
Johnny?
That's okay.
Okay, one more question from Thomas.
So, is the house that you're borrowing, is it like, so are you, so is the house, are you paying money to use that house like for the parking lot, or was it like a house that was for sale or something?
So this house was for sale,
Oh,
and the guy I mentioned before, Mr. Mixer, he purchased the house.
so he purchased the house?
Yeah, so he owns
So-
the house.
Oh, so it includes all, so he's also paying for that part too?
He sure is. That's right.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Thank you, very nice. Further comments or questions before we take a vote on this? Okay, could I have a motion then?
Just to accept the plan, or just to...
And then, well, usually we'll send a correspondence to the ZBA.
I make a motion, we send the ZBA a letter giving our approval of the plan.
I'll second that.
Kittredge House.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there further comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
He's got 17 more things to ask questions about.
We'll wait for everyone to file out before we continue. Good night. Thanks, boys. That was great. You added a great deal to the meeting. Thank you. Future Windsor Select Board member.
Oh, man.
Okay, I'm going to move the Traffic Commission reports up, seeing that we have quite a few, and we have some visiting dignitaries with us to discuss one of the issues. So,
Want to do that one first, John?
well, I'm going to defer to the chair, Mr. Filio, on how he wants to coordinate this. As for, do you want to go over those first things with the town signs first and then get into Washington Mountain Road, or?
Willing to do Washington Mountain Road, let the...
Okay, I'm going to give you the floor. And you can start off, Dan, and...
Thank you. As you know, the Select Board, back in January, met with a group of people from Washington Mountain Road, and just Dan Filio from the Traffic Commission. And since that time, the Traffic Commission has been working with numerous boards and committees, both in Dalton, other communities, BRPC, on things about Washington Mountain Road. And some of the things that we worked with and addressed were the request for a traffic study to be done of Washington Mountain Road. Traffic study was a key component of what you need to do if we were going to have a truck ban, which is one of the things that the people had spoken with the Select Board about having. And we had sent letters out to Pittsfield, of Washington and Beckett concerning that. Excuse me. Last week, about a week and a half ago, the Chief Coe and myself met with Clete Coos from the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission about the traffic study. The traffic study came back, and the numbers on the traffic study did not support a truck ban on the road, number one. Basic heavy traffic was less than 3% of the total amount of vehicles that they saw during the time of the study. So that would be a point we wanted to make to the select board and make them aware of what was going on. In addition, with the traffic study, we have been dealing with the town of Washington and the town of Beckett, both of which opposed the truck ban. Basically, I believe, and they'll probably talk about it, is the fact that they didn't feel that the volume of truck traffic would be supportive of the truck ban. At the time of the accident last November, there was a project going on by Eversource that had materials being trucked in that was coming down Washington Mountain Road. That project has since finished. They're no longer coming up and down the road at the volume that they had been back last November. If a traffic study had been done at that time, it would have shown the vehicles, but it would have been an error on the actual amount of traffic that's coming through because it was an anomaly. It was one that was going on at the time. Be as it may, we wouldn't have been able to get a traffic study done last November. We have to request that through BRPC. They hire a company that comes in and does it. They did 36 some odd studies in the county this summer. We were one of them. And as I said, the traffic study wouldn't support a truck ban. In addition, we looked to see what we could do about the speed limit in the lower part of Washington Mountain Road, which is 40 miles an hour, until it reaches the 20 mile an hour curve. Correct? 25, thank you. And I'll let the chief address this. Part of it is what's going on with the police department, their studies. But the traffic study does not support changing of the speed limit.
Can I ask you a question here? How long was the traffic study done for?
2 days.
2 days.
It was in the summer, right? Or towards the beginning of fall? Or no?
The exact dates of that was, start date was 8/21. I'm sorry, it was 8/21 to 8/28.
No, it was 2 days. I thought it was the 23rd and 24th, but I can't recall. It was on the end of August.
So the end of,
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what day of the week that was?
I do not, off the top of my head.
23rd according to the report.
So was it Tuesday?
Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday.
Thank you.
Is that a typical
Dan,
length?
it said on your report the start date was 8/21 and
That was
the
it.
pickup date was 8/28.
I'd only registered 2 days of information.
We only had 2 days worth of information from the report. That showed in the following for the report. Give me a second. If you
Yeah,
would,
take your
please. It actually shows the actual days of the study were the 22nd and the 23rd.
Tuesday, Wednesday?
Could well be, I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Is that a typical length of study, Dan, for a traffic?
Yes.
Tuesday, or 22nd, 23rd? You said?
I believe so, yes.
27th.
That's Wednesday, Thursday.
Wednesday, Thursday. The state works off a thing that's called the 85th percentile. When they do a traffic study, they measure out what the 85th percentile average speed of vehicles were. For this project, one way, I believe eastbound was 44 miles an hour, westbound was 45 miles an hour. To post a place, you're allowed to go 5 miles an hour above or below. And so if you go down below, you always have to do in increments of 5. It would show that the optimum speed was 40 miles an hour, which is what is presently posted. So to change that, we would not receive support from Mass DOT to do that.
If I can add some more perspective to the speed, we also were out there enforcing, not at the time of the study, we didn't want to affect traffic with the visibility of a police cruiser. One of the people that were most monitoring traffic was myself. I took it serious enough for the amount of residents that came to all the meetings that I wanted firsthand knowledge so that I could look everyone in the eye and tell them a true opinion. I did not see the truck traffic, which makes sense because there was a project going on earlier when they lodged the complaint, but not at the time that all the monitoring was going on. The speed was exactly as we saw by the report. People going up the hill were doing 40 miles an hour in a 40. Yes, they slowed down, but not down to 25 miles an hour going up the hill. But I don't think many of us, as normal drivers, expect everyone to do exactly the speed limit. I think it would drive everyone nuts. The acceptable limit is about 10 miles over the limit before people start complaining of speeding. So when we looked at the study, the 80th percentile, even all the way up to the 95th percentile, out of about 1,430 cars a day, 95% of them with that 10-mile limit in mind before we would put in, traffic enforcement and start pulling over cars, 95% were below that. I actually did the numbers. If we sat there all day long monitoring traffic and caught the speed of all 1,430 cars, we would be able to pull over 19. We'd probably fine 1. So I just, although we did, and we continue to be visible in that area, particularly the corner, we really wouldn't have had speeders to pull over, so we used the 25-mile-an-hour corner. I lowered the limit to the lowest level allowable by law, which is 10 over, and we pulled over anyone doing 10 miles and over down that 25-mile-an-hour. So essentially I set up a speed trap that probably would have annoyed every citizen in Dalton. If I pulled them over and gave them a fine, or their son or daughter driving, they'd complain. So although, they technically could be pulled over, it was right at that 10-mile-an-hour zone. Nobody was going faster than that. We used it we didn't give fines, we used it as a community policing initiative to pull people over, give them, say, hey, the reason why we're sitting here is to raise awareness on the S corner. And we found 2 types of people. The majority who lived somewhere in that stretch of road for the 3 towns, who traveled every day, and people who never traveled that road before. There was no in between. Either it was, I travel this every day, I should know better, or no, I've never been in the area, and I didn't realize, I saw the 40-mile-an-hour zone, I didn't realize it dropped to 25. So my takeaway personally was, I just don't know, and even if the speed limit, and I'm not sure we can do this, but even if it was lowered, because I think it makes sense personally to have a common speed limit through that whole street rather than several different zones on that stretch. Even if we lowered it, it doesn't increase the numbers of how many cars I could legally pull over anyways. So it doesn't make sense because the 95th percentile going up was 40 and coming down was 44. It's still below that 10-mile-an-hour allowable. Once they hit that 10, we can pull them over and issue a fine by state law. It's below that. So I just didn't see the need to even lower it to 35. I don't think it would make a difference. I was going to type that up. I didn't have it in time for today's meeting, but I was going to type something up so that you had something official.
Dan, do you have further?
Addressing what the chief mentioned about the speed limits, the select board has the authority to request that Mass DOT approve a lower speed limit for the area. They have done it once that I'm aware of in the town of Dalton, which was on Curtis Avenue. That they lowered the speed limit. The reason that was given by the town that was articulated to show why it should be lowered was that Curtis Avenue is a pedestrian way used by 2 schools, and it also has the major park for the town of Dalton at the end of it. So there was a great deal of pedestrian traffic there, pretty much during the daylight hours into the early evening. Most days of the week during the summer. Because of that articulation, the state allowed us to go, I believe it was maybe 5 miles below what it would normally have been for a speed limit. It would be up to the select board whether or not they have similar things that could articulate to the state as to why you would want to lower the speed limit on the road. I agree with the chief about what he said about it would be nice to see a more consistent speed limit. I just don't think that I can't come up with, and the Traffic Commission did not come up with anything to articulate the need to do that.
There doesn't seem to be a reason, and with regard to the trucks, it seems more situational than anything else.
Yes.
Depending on the project.
I think that was the biggest complaint anyway, was the trucks.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if the truck traffic is reduced, I haven't had any other complaints.
And the trucks that we're seeing now are box trucks, delivery box trucks. Before, they were complaining about dump trucks with the Jake brakes.
Yeah.
I saw two, and they were doing 20 miles an hour coming down the entire all the days I sat there. I separated time. I mean, sometimes I came in first thing. I didn't even stop at the station. I went right out there, and that's what I did. The residents should be able to tell you, because many of them I sat on Avon Drive. They pulled up and acknowledged that I was there and thanked me, but. And we're surprised to hear that, I was the chief sitting there myself. But, so it's not that we discarded what was being said. We took it serious. I just don't think what I saw, my officer saw, and what the study shows, which is all consistent, warrants it. The only other suggestion that Berkshire Regional Planning said was to change and I don't know why, I disagree, it gives us more teeth, is the 25-mile-an-hour zone is currently a regulatory sign, which is the white with black lettering. That's a lot easier for police officers to enforce than a warning sign or an advisory sign, which is the yellow with black. When we bring a ticket to court that gets challenged by the operator that's issued, as long as we have a speed measuring device, which we use, that's how we figure out speed if you're speeding, and that regulatory sign, it's the argument is really the burden of the operator to get out of why they don't think they get the ticket, rather than the burden on us to explain why we issued the ticket. Once you go to the yellow and black sign, that swaps. It's the burden's on the officer to prove why you believe it was greater than reasonable for them to travel that speed. And we're showing that cars going 35 miles an hour are handling that corner just fine. Now add just a touch of snow or sleet, and that changes that street. And I think that's what a lot of the accidents, and that's what I mentioned. I know it to the displeasure of the residents who heard me say the majority of accidents when we did the accident study specifically was caused to the snow and sleet. And we know in town that is the first road to freeze up. My officers specifically, since we were trained back when I was a rookie reserve officer, to make sure you go up there at night and notify highway, because that's the telltale sign of when the weather is switching over. Is when Washington Mountain starts switching over, it's only a matter of time before the other streets catch up behind it. So we still use that system today, my midnight shift, to call out highway to get be their eyes and ears. So again, we're very I know it's out on the outskirts of town, and we are not there as much as we are Main Street, because this is where we're located and this is where the population is. But we do have a presence out there.
I'd like to open this up to Beckett for any comments. If you have any.
I'm Bill Albert. I'm chairman of the Beckett Select Board. And we obviously didn't support this initially because ever since I've had a license, I've traveled Washington Mountain Road from Beckett to Pittsfield, and there's definitely speeding up on top of the mountain. I mean, they pass me now on double solid lines, but that's Washington. That's not Dalton. And but I have followed trucks down the mountain, wishing they'd go a little bit faster. But I've never seen a problem with the trucks. Probably the people don't like the Jake brakes, but it saves their brakes. And we, as far as Beckett's concerned, if you wanted to, and I'm speaking for myself, and I think that Michael, who was a vice chairman of our select board, Mike Believer, he would probably agree with me that if you wanted to put a sign on the Beckett end advising that there's a steep hill ahead, trucks be caution or something, I don't think we'd have a problem with that.
I think we'd have to put it closer to the
I do too, but
by the time you get through Beckett.
But that is the beginning of the road if you wanted to put it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Maybe in the future, unless the board has a different opinion, there would be some additional signage up there. We'd coordinate with Washington and with you for warning signs.
One of the thoughts we did have, if you put a truck ban on Washington Mountain Road, that would probably transfer some trucks to Kirshner Road, which may be even more dangerous with the curves up through there.
I'd rather go over the mountain, personally. Yeah. Anything else?
I don't know.
Michael Avery, Vice Chair. I'll just agree with my co-selectman and the chief that it does change elevation there, and it can be an indicator maybe on the Beckett side where it's lower that if it's wet in Beckett, it might be icy or snowy up on the higher elevation. So I don't know how you put that into a sign, but I've had nothing in Beckett and then get out up on the top of there and it's snowing and I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it down the hill going to Pittsfield. So it is scary when you're doing that.
Yeah, we may have to coordinate. Go ahead, Dan.
I'm sorry. Just as I'd like to thank Beckett for coming here and to thank them. We've had multiple communications back and forth, letters. They sent us a letter. We asked them to reconsider, provided us some information. I appreciate the time that they took and the time that Washington took to work with us on this project. One of the things that we have done is we don't believe a truck ban will happen. We don't think the state would approve it even if we had all the towns come in and say yes, because the traffic study doesn't support it. But Ken and myself have gone up and we've sat down with the Washington Select Board. They have agreed to work with us about putting a flashing sign above in Washington before we get to the curve. We're talking about one of those signs that has the 4 lights that flash all the time with signs on it saying caution, steep grade, sharp curves ahead. To take action for it. The town of Dalton would buy the sign we've asked for and the money was allocated back in June, and Washington has agreed to put it up for us once we get the project to go forward. In addition, we are going to request that the sign be placed somewhere near, I just lost the name of the road.
Not Lover's Lane.
Beach Road?
Schultz. Sorry?
Oh, Beach Road. Beach Road.
No, in Dalton going up.
Oh,
Yvonne Drive, thank you. Near Yvonne Drive, with a flashing sign that says 20 miles an hour or 25 mile an hour zone ahead, and a sign saying, flashing what the speed you're going is to remind the cars to slow down. That, once again, that money's been allocated too. Once it's been approved that we go forward with that fully, then John Ruffley would we would buy the thing and we would have it put up. When it could be put up, I don't know. That's up to what John's schedule is.
You're looking for two votes then. One, to agree with your determination about the truck ban, and two, about the signs? The signs have been already...
The truck ban, the information we provided on the truck ban, there's no recommendation for further action to be taken on that by the Traffic Commission. What the thing about the signs is what we have taken action to provide that we could go. There was 3 reports actually given. The truck ban, a general report of what we've done, and also one about the bridges that I'll address in a moment. So yes, it would be a acceptance of our final report, and then we would take action off of that.
Okay. The only thing I have with the signs and the flashing lights, and this is for Ken, do we have to do the same type of engineering study that we have to do with the state road for our own roads?
I don't think so.
Or we can just, well, we've allocated the money.
Right.
So it'll just be an okay to purchase the signs and equipment.
You just have to, I just have to find the time. I think Dan found that out from us.
Spoke with BRPC.
Yeah.
Okay.
They said
We don't
because
need
it's the
further
town
approval
road, we
from
would
the
not
state.
have to get the full engineering as it did for the
Great.
state.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a question.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, just particularly regarding the signs, that's all.
Okay, go ahead.
Did I misunderstand this? You talked about putting the signs in Washington right before the descent on the curvature part of Washington Mountain Road.
Yes.
So how did it end up down at Yvonne Drive?
There's 2 signs.
Two different signs. Yeah.
Okay, clears it up. I missed that part about two. I thought you were talking about only one.
No.
So one on the way up and one on the way down.
Right.
The one at Yvonne Drive, and I fully support that, Dan. That's definitely the question, the answer to this, or not the answer, but part of the solution. Will the neighbors raise any concerns about a flash, because it's kind of a neighborhood right there, Yvonne Drive, will they raise any concerns about a flashing sign?
This is something that they asked for.
Okay, good.
I just only had one thing to add that I thought was a good takeaway. When I looked at the traffic study, I had to go speak with the gentleman because I didn't know how to read these. 1,400 or 1,430 a day. That sounded like a lot to me. They allocate one day on a normal family 10 trips from one house. And I looked at my own house, and I have kids that are in sporting events. They don't drive themselves. I'm sure it's more than 10 when they start driving. But just my wife and I make easily a minimum of 6 to 8 a day. You know, if you talk about work, because I came back to work tonight and back. That's 6 just for work. If they have a sporting event, you make that 10. So I thought it was a plausible takeaway from the number. Like, well, what does 1,400 mean on a street like Washington Mountain Road that feeds 3 towns versus my street? So even if you take my street, I have 30 houses at least. That's 500 trips just for the local traffic. And when I think of traffic on my street, this is just me. I don't think of my neighbors because I know them. You wave, and they're not it's the cars you're like, well, who the heck just came through there? You know, it's the imposters on your road. So I just thought it was a good takeaway that I'd share with you, because what do these numbers mean? 1,400. I don't know what that meant, but when you said 10 trips per household per day,
it makes sense.
It really does kind of give you a tangible number to think about. So I didn't think it was that much for that size road with the homes onto Schultz and whatnot in the Beckett.
Yeah, just one more thing about the signs. Question for Ken. Ken, will these signs be solar powered?
That's the idea.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions or comments?
Just as a point, so you understand, the sign in Washington would have to be put, if we try to put it right on the town line, it's too late.
Yeah.
Okay, so we wanted to move it up into Washington, find a place that is adequate to get the solar lights. Fortunately, they work very good even with some overhead coverage. So this has all been taken into account and looked at, and a position will be picked out, and we'll go forward with that.
So the Washington sign, we're buying it, they're placing it.
Yes.
Okay. But we're doing everything for the Yvonne Drive area sign.
Who's going to maintain it? I realize there's not a lot of maintenance to a sign.
It's basically, I would imagine that it would be our sign. So if it gets hit or something like that, there's a problem with it, the town of Dalton would have to take care of it. I think that's only fair. They're allowing us to use it, I think.
Yeah. So questions? Further questions?
It would go on our insurance also if somebody hits it.
Yeah. Okay.
Driver's insurance?
Driver's insurance, yeah.
The chief will go after.
Yeah.
It's part of your accident report. It's damaged property. We would be listed as a
damage to town property. Yeah. Well, I'll take a couple motions one at a time, I guess.
I have one other thing for Washington Mountain Road. Do you want to wait until after? Do you want to?
Yeah, let's get this out of the way. And,
okay.
So we're not building up on motions and votes. And
the people on Washington Mountain Road asked that we see that the bridges, which are actually culverts on the road, be posted with weight limits. The basic idea is a vehicle over that weight limit would not be able to go up and down the road. We asked the state to inspect them. They did inspect them. We asked them to expedite it, because they're actually in a cycle of inspections. They did that for us. We thank Mass DOT for doing that. 2 bridges, Sackett and Hathaway, Brooks, both of them were inspected. Neither of them meet the criteria with the state for posting, so the state declined for posting them. So there will be no posting of the bridges either.
But we don't have to vote on that anyways, because the state's not going to do it, and we can't do it.
Right.
So, okay. All right, Bob. Let's
traffic study, or
so why don't we do the truck ban, and basically all we need is to agree with the traffic commission. No further action needs to be taken. No truck ban will be placed.
okay. I make a motion we support the Dalton Traffic Commission's efforts and not to have a ban on trucks going down Dalton or Washington Mountain Road.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. And the next one is for the purchase and placement of the 2 signs, one in Washington, one in Dalton.
Make a motion, we accept and buy the 2 signs that the Dalton Traffic Commission recommends for Washington Mountain Road.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to purchase and place the warning signs on Washington Mountain Road. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you. Thank you. I invite you to come visit us in Beckett someday.
When you want it, just tell us. Good night. See you later. Take care.
Nice to meet you. Take care. Thank you very
Good
much.
night.
Okay, Dan.
Good seeing you.
Yeah, same. Take it easy. Good to see you.
Okay, now, there's, there's a few other issues that still need to be brought up by the Traffic Commission. And you have the floor, Dan.
I believe it has to do with, we put in recommendations.
Or would you rather have me read your, I can read your memos and we can do one at a time. It's up to you how you
Why
want to
would you read them, please?
Sure. Okay. Let's take the first one. It's a request by a citizen for a 4-way stop on Pleasant Street at Raymond Drive. Now, this is dated September 10th. And from the Traffic Commission, it says on August 28, 2018, Dalton Traffic Commission discussed a request from Vivian Delgado, 307 Pleasant Street, to have a 4-way stop created at Pleasant Street and Raymond Drive. The Traffic Commission discussed the proposal. Stop signs exist stopping traffic traveling north and south on Pleasant. The intersection, along with others in the area, had been reviewed by the Traffic Commission a number of years ago per request of a member of the Select Board. It was noted that the Dalton Police had received no reports of accidents or complaints by residents about this intersection. It was felt that there is no compelling necessity to make this intersection a 4-way stop at this time. Based on this, the Traffic Commission voted as follows. The Traffic Commission voted to deny the request for a 4-way stop at Pleasant Street and Raymond Drive. Respectfully, Daniel D. Filio, Chair. So, other than your memo, is there anything you want to add to
The only thing is I'd just remind the board that if the board felt it was necessary to put any sign in, that they would have the authority. We are an advisory board to the Select Board.
Well, the way I look at it, you study it and took the time to figure out what's going on. To me, knowing the intersection, it makes sense not to. So, that's my opinion on it. But is there discussion or questions from the board? Okay.
I make a motion, we accept the Traffic Commission study on the 4-way stop on Pleasant Street and Raymond Drive to be denied.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, the next one, or abstentions? The next one is, again, a request by a citizen for change the caution children sign First Street. I'm sorry.
There was an extra word in there. It was the change wasn't supposed to be in there.
Okay, never mind. In other words, what they want is to place a caution children sign on First Street. Now, on August 28th, the Traffic Commission discussed a request from Vivian Delgado, 307 Pleasant Street, to have a caution children signs installed on First Street between Carson Avenue and Field Street. The Traffic Commission discussed this proposal. It was pointed out the requested areas between the Carson Avenue intersection and the Field Street intersection, both of which are 4-way stopped intersections with a short distance between them. Based on this, the Traffic Commission voted as follows. The Traffic Commission voted to deny the request for the caution children signs at this location. Respectfully, Daniel D. Filio, Chair.
Once again, the only other information we had is that Chief Coe did talk to 2 of his officers that had lived on that area.
Yeah.
And they had told him that this is subsequent to this being sent up to you, so you know. Just that they, occasionally you have people that go through the first street light, that at first in view. There are children in the neighborhood, but neither officer felt that it would be necessary to have the sign there.
Okay. Questions or comments?
I guess I have a question on that. What's the harm of having a sign up like that?
The area we're talking about is about 400 feet.
Yeah.
We felt that the fact that there's this four-way stop at the top and at the bottom of the street, that there wouldn't, vehicle unless it go through it.
Yeah.
If the board, once again, if the board felt that it's necessary, then it would be to put in. I would note that the report for request for the sign did not come from a resident of that area.
Thank you.
Which is something that we did take into consideration. We have got nothing.
There's no complaints, there's no incidents that you could find. Further comments? Motion?
Okay, I make a motion, we accept the Dalton Traffic Commission request not to put a caution children sign up on First Street.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, the next one is request for caution children on sign on View Street. On August 28, 2018, Dalton Traffic Commission discussed a request from Vivian Delgado, 307 Pleasant Street, to have caution children signs installed on View Street between Carson and Field Street. But that sign would actually be on View Street, right?
Yes.
The Traffic Commission discussed the proposal and was pointed out that the requested area is a street that is used almost exclusively by residents and at times people who are going to St. Agnes Church and Academy property. Also, there have been no complaints to the police about problem with the street and traffic. The police chief stated that he would contact the superintendent of St. Agnes Academy and Father Malatesta to request a sign be put on school property advising caution to people entering View Street. Based on this, the Traffic Commission voted as follows. The Traffic Commission voted to deny the request of caution children signs at this location. Respectfully, Daniel DeFilio, Chair.
If I may note, the chief verified that St. Agnes has put up a sign at their exit asking that the vehicles use caution in exiting that street. Once again, we're talking about View Street actually goes from Harworth Avenue to First Street. It's a short street, it's a sharp curve on it. And once again, we did not feel that it was called for. Once again, it was not issued by anybody who was a resident of that street requesting a sign.
Questions, comments? Motion?
I make a motion, we accept the Dalton Traffic Commission recommendation not to put up a caution children sign on View Street.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, now this one's a little more involved with Grange Hall Road.
Grange Hall Road was requested by a gentleman who lived on Barton Hill Road that the signs be changed from the regulatory signs, two regulatory signs from advisory signs. Washington Mountain, excuse me.
Do you want to read this?
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Just to save you some.
Yeah.
Okay, again, this is a request by citizen to change signage on Grange Hall Road. And on August 28, 2018, the Traffic Commission discussed a request from Wayne Toomey, 126 Barton Hill Road, to have a 30-mile-per-hour advisory sign on Grange Hall Road changed to a 30-mile-per-hour regulatory sign, which is a white sign. The Traffic Commission discussed the proposal. Chief Cole pointed out that Grange Hall Road by statute is designed a non-posted 30-mile-per-hour zone, and the police regularly enforce the speed limit under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 9017. The advisory sign has been posted a number of years ago to remind motorists of the speed limit on the street. It's also pointed out that the steps needed to establish a regulatory speed zone under Chapter 9018 would be that the town would be required to follow the procedures established under the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, the MUTCD, Massachusetts amendments, which would require a speed study, and using the 85th percentile formula to establish a speed zone. Chief Coe pointed out the police department's ability to enforce the speed limit on Grange Hill Road is the same under both statutes. Based on this, the Traffic Commission voted as follows. The Traffic Commission would advise the requesting party of the regulations and that we would not request that the signs be changed from advisory to regulatory. Respectfully submitted, Daniel DeFilio, Chair.
You said it all there. I would point out a couple points. Chief Coe talked about how the department determines speed limits and such. On Washington Mountain Road, it would apply the same way, the procedures they follow. The other thing is if the select board does wish to change it from the advisory to the regulatory signs, we would have to request a speed study, traffic study. We would not be able to get a traffic study until next summer. This is a point of information for the select board.
Dan, I have one question, and we went through this before on Dalton Division Road about changing speeds and
Yes.
stuff. But this was a little bit different. There's a comment under question 6 of the regulations that was sent out back when they changed the laws about.
Yes.
And it spoke about section 119 and these statutory speed limits, which is what this statutory speed is on there, so non-posted 30-mile-an-hour zone.
Correct.
If we opt into this section 193, the town could post that even lower,
25 miles.
25.
Right.
Was that discussed?
We had, the town has already has taken that action previously.
Okay. Was that discussed?
Is changing to 25, no.
That's my only comment, really. I don't know, personally, I don't see the need for it. I think 30 is fine, but I'm wondering if you had talked about that or hashed that out with the chief or whatever.
We did not discuss that option.
Okay. Do you think it's something you should?
No. We can if the select board wishes it, but it was, we were aware of that 119 when we discussed the changing of the signs. We recently did that. We used that bylaw to post signs on Orchard Road, and at that time we chose to keep it at 30 miles an hour. Once again, I think it would be if the select board would wish us to discuss that, we can. But the suggestion by the townsperson was not to change the speed, but rather to change the type of the sign.
Type of the way to enforce it. Yeah. Okay. You were aware of it, and that's fine. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you. Further questions? Comments? Motion?
I make a motion, we accept the Dalton Traffic Commission recommendation and not change the signage on Grange Hill Road.
I'll second that.
The speed limit sign.
Speed limit signs, yes.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
I think your business is done, right?
Negative.
I would like
Oh, you got one more?
the crosswalk lights.
Crosswalks.
Oh, okay.
Here we go again.
All right, well, okay. Hey, hang on, let me go through this, the roster here. So, okay. Then we're done with the communications from the Traffic Commission anyway, so we can go up to number 10, which is next on the list. This is crosswalk lights, Main and River, and Main and Depot. Well, what we need is a status, I guess, of what needs to be done, what has been done. So I'll give it to Ken.
Okay. I have not found it possible to spend any time on this, and I feel badly about that, but with deadline-sensitive projects that we're working on, particularly Old Dalton High School and the lights, I've just not been able to do that. One of the things I want to avoid, if we can, is spending the kind of money we spent last time on engineering. So I want to speak to the traffic engineer at Mass Highway to find out if we can install those lights on Main Street, the ones we're talking about here at River and Depot, with a minimum of engineering costs on our part, whether we can have maybe John Ruffley or someone on the Traffic Commission can do that, because the last time, the light on Nesicus cost almost as much to engineer as it did to buy and install the light. That's really where I am.
Okay.
I don't know if
Dan,
Dan has anything to add.
Do you have comments or?
No,
Okay.
Ken and I have discussed this numerous times, and it's just getting Mass DOT to sign in and help out would be a great asset for this.
Who does the engineering, Mass DOT? Or we have to hire our own engineer?
Yes, we hired Ty and Bond because they have traffic, they have qualified traffic engineers, and they had to file special reports with the state in order to get permission to install the light there. And they had to do quite a bit of work, so.
Now, as for the purchase of the equipment, didn't we?
We have appropriations to purchase the equipment.
Both
And then we can do the engineering, it's just a matter, really, again, it's a matter of me trying to find time to work on this, or John Ruffley. And I just haven't been able to find the time to do it.
I don't want to put any burden on you, I'm just throwing this out there. Is there anything that can be done by somebody else to get anything started with the engineering process, or finding out
Yes, someone needs to call Pat Tierney, who's the state traffic engineer.
I'm willing to do whatever you can, or Dan, whatever you guys need, because this, to me, is a priority. I think it's a huge safety concern, and I think that's one of our biggest duties as selectmen, is for the safety of our residents. And I receive complaint after complaint after complaint. I'm willing to do whatever we need to do to get this taken care of. I know I've been talking about it for 2.5 years.
It's going on forever.
Forever.
Yeah.
I'm willing to do whatever we need to do to get this done, to move this forward. I'll make calls, whoever I need to talk to.
Can you and Mark get together on this and maybe coordinate something through Ken, or do you not feel comfortable with that, Dan? Or
I mean, I can talk to Pat Tierney also. The only thing is the Traffic Commission has no authority if Pat says, oh yes, we need this to do it, I can't generate that paperwork. I can generate it for Ken, sign, and we're willing to do that.
I guess the only thing we need to know now is, what do we have to do?
Yeah, that's right. So find out from the state traffic engineer, how do we move this forward?
Well, Mark, I'll take you up on the offer, and if you can work with Dan to find out what we need to do, we'll get it on the agenda as soon as you say, put it on the agenda, and we'll get this rolling as fast as we can. We have the money to get the equipment, we just would have to appropriate the money for the engineering, depending on what that cost would be.
I think there's money that is already appropriated that could cover some of the engineering.
Yeah.
It's whether or not, and I would give it to Ken. I know that the question is how much the engineering is going to cost. So.
Okay. Any other comments or ideas or whatever? Okay, so let me know, Mark.
Yep.
And we'll do something from there.
Thank you, Dan, for everything.
Thanks a lot, Dan. Appreciate it. Okay. Do you want me to do the other ones then before the other report?
That's fine.
Is that
please.
okay?
Yes, it's okay.
I was remiss in making comment last meeting, or actually 2 meetings ago, about the you know what? I lost my piece of paper. Hang on. Yes, thank you, Bob. Is the MPO caucus that was held here on September 20th, 2018, and that's the Berkshire Metropolitan Planning Organization, which is run, and John, correct me if I'm wrong in saying these things, it's run with or through the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission. The bottom line on this meeting was we are in the north central district of the county, which I'll let another explain this a little bit more. But during the meeting, our main purpose was to vote a representative for the 7 towns. 7 or 6 or 7.
Well, for our district, yeah.
For our district,
I think there's 7.
a representative. And and also an alternate. And the representative for this district who was voted in was John Boyle on our board, which is a very important, from what I understand, it's a very important position. And I'm glad that John took up this request from those who attended to be our representative. He's been there before and was instrumental in doing a lot of various road work plans.
Primarily
Financing
for proposed
road work plans. And as an alternate, Harvey Drosine is the alternate, who is a select board member in Hinsdale. So I'm going to turn it over to John just to explain what the MPO does, because I'm not that well versed in your duties. But I want to thank you for stepping up and doing this, John, and I think it will be great because you're experienced in this field, and it'll be helpful for our town down the road.
Oh, just a couple of quick words. The MPO, I don't know where they came up with Metropolitan Planning Organization, but sounds nice. Yeah. But anyway, it's made up of 10 votes. In order to be frank, in order to move your project forward, you got to corral 6 of the 10 votes. And that's because there is such competition for the funds that are available from the state and federal government. And this becomes the awarding body in this county, District 1. And there's a lot of competition for the funds from small towns. We all have projects. Dalton has projects. South Street, Housatonic Street, and now South Street.
Just Dalton Division.
Right, Dalton Division, formerly South Street project. And at my first meeting I went the other day, I was somewhat dismayed. Evidently, they've already adopted or allocated the funds for the next 5 years. So, the Dalton Division, which is not unusual. I know it's not. I know. Housatonic was
5 years is a long time.
I know, but don't forget, Housatonic Street was 18 years.
Yeah, I was hoping to move faster.
Yeah. So, that can change because priorities change, road work change, and availability of funds change. So it's important for us, and I know we're already working on it, getting the engineering done. That gets you to like 25% completion of the project. There's different stages. When you get to 100%, you're eligible for award of financial reimbursement. So that's where we stand now, I think. I'm not totally sure, but it can be a jumble down there. But anyway, I will do my very best to put wheels on this Dalton Division project. I think that's where we're at.
Well, yeah, that would be great. And
it's a tough get, but
you can do your magic like you did with Housatonic Street.
Yeah, I lost a lot of my contacts down there. A lot of the guys are gone. They were supporting me. Bob Melinati from the bus company.
Yeah.
Bruce. What was Bruce's name?
Collingwood.
Yeah, Collingwood. Those guys are good friends to the town of Dalton. They supported us all the way. It's a whole different ballgame now.
Yeah, you have your work cut out.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you again. Yeah. I'm pleased that you're a representative for this area. And I think it'll work out for us quite well.
Very good.
We'll work something out.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Let's see. Let me just do this Berkshire Gas notification letter. I got a phone call from a resident on Pleasant Street with regard to a letter that he received back in April of 2018. And I'm not going to read the whole letter, but it's from Berkshire Gas. And it starts out, Dear Dalton residents, the town of Dalton is planning to pave your street this year, that being Pleasant Street. If you have been considering switching to natural gas, now may be your last chance for quite some time to do so, at little or no cost to you. Most towns may not approve installation of new gas service for up to 7 years after a road has been paved. So then they give a blow-by-blow of why change over to natural gas. And it says, but don't wait, we need to hear from you now to make sure we can connect with you before paving starts. Now, this gentleman after that time did have a gas line installed in an agreement with Berkshire Gas that he put in hot water here and gas furnace. Well, he's got the hot water heater in. But when he came here for some other purpose, he asked in the select board office, are you going to be paving Pleasant Street soon? Well, no, we're not. We have no plans to pave Pleasant Street. So now he has an agreement which he really didn't want to kind of go to because, you know, the oil furnace that he had was still good, but he thought he was thinking of the future, kind of. And he didn't want to get caught for 7 years or whatever. So he was a little dismayed and asked me what to do. I go, well, give me the letter. And I said, I'd call Berkshire Gas right now and tell them, you know, they're not paving my street. I don't want, you know, if he didn't want the furnace put in, he doesn't have to spend that money. He's already spent the money for the hot water heater. But to me, the information was not accurate, and it was deceiving, quite frankly, for the homeowners. And I'm sure that the only homeowners that probably got this were those who weren't Berkshire Gas customers. It just says homeowner with the address of Pleasant Street, on Pleasant Street. So I wanted to make people aware that we're not going to be paving Pleasant Street and anytime soon. I mean, it's not in the plan. I'm sure it will be done, but no time soon. If in fact you have made plans through Berkshire Gas, convey that to them. And if you so change your mind on converting, tell them that. But in the meantime, I spoke with Ken on maybe what we could do. And again, Ken, to be accurate, that was to contact who?
Public relations.
The public relations at Berkshire Gas, and tell them to send out something. Tell them to stop what they're doing, and they may be doing it on other streets for all I know.
I'll be honest with you, I think it should be referred to the Attorney General's office.
Yeah, I mean, this is
pretty bad, yeah.
not good.
Yeah, it wouldn't be bad. I do it both.
Yeah.
I do it both.
Are we sure that there's no plan to pave this in the near future? I mean, next 5 years.
Where did they get that information from?
You know, John Ruffley lives on Pleasant Street.
Yeah, but
I mean, maybe it was talked about or it was mentioned.
Well, wouldn't you come to the town and say, hey, or it would be in a meeting that we would say, this is our plan for paving streets, which we do every year.
I just urge and caution John, we should,
Maybe check
whatever we're
with
going
John
to
Ruffley.
do, double check with John.
Okay.
Before we do anything to embarrass him.
Town of Dalton is planning to pave your street this year.
This year is pretty definite.
Yeah, that's what it says.
I mean, it's really,
Yeah,
I think we would have heard about that.
Yeah, it's only 2.5 months left in the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still, he got this in April. Okay,
Oh,
this is a season.
okay, but-
This is a season. That's a
Yeah.
season to start putting in new gas lines. You know, when the weather is good.
I
Okay.
agree with you completely. Somebody should check with John, make
The
sure.
same type of letter went down to Division Road residents because they were putting in that new line.
Yeah.
Okay, they are putting in the new line. That's all good. But there's nothing being done on our part to pave this street. I don't even know what other streets we're even planning on paving. There's nothing in the works since
No,
we did Windsor
We
Road.
really got to go over our capital improvement plan. I think I took a quick look at it. I didn't see Pleasant on there, and I talked to John. I don't think John spoke with the gas company. I certainly didn't. No one called me.
Well,
Well, I think the Berkshire Gas owes us an explanation of why they did this and where they got the information, and they should send out a retraction letter on this.
okay.
I agree completely, Bob. A strong worded letter about their actions and misrepresentations.
That's
But just be certain we know where we are with John Ruffley. I mean, we all know this, evidently.
Okay, well, Ken, if you can contact John and ask him if he had any conversation with Berkshire Gas or made mention, you know, we're paving Pleasant Street, which I can't, he wouldn't, it just doesn't happen that way. But I agree, John, let's check everything, and that's really the only thing that we have to check. After that, you know, we can invite Berkshire Gas here if we want to get an explanation from them, instead of writing them a letter.
Yeah,
And if they don't show, then we can write them a letter. But I strongly agree with Mark, and I didn't think of it, that the AG's office, who handles these type of, situations, issues, when it comes to marketing. You know, these claims, in order to get business, should it be, well, it is false. It is false as far as we know. How they got the information, we'll find out how they got the information. But after that takes place, we should take action with Berkshire Gas, whether they come to one of our meetings and we demand an explanation of what they're doing, or we get a hold of their public relations people, and or we get a hold of the AG's office.
It'd be smart to nip this in the bud. If
Yes.
they did it on this street.
Well, yeah, that's just it. We don't know what other residents may have gotten this.
We haven't heard.
And this is a very generic letter, which all you have to do is put an address on it and ship it out, and it would apply to any street.
Yep.
Can we invite them to our next meeting?
Yeah, we can. We can, but in the meantime, we have to find out, before we invite them, we have to find out to confirm anything from John roughly.
Yep.
That's all. After that?
I think we're all in agreement.
Okay.
Yeah. Somebody talk to John and then invite him for the next meeting.
Well, we'll be setting the agenda for next meeting. It'll probably be on the 16th, which is a Tuesday. When we usually do a weekend. I told Bob I will not be here for the 22nd, the meeting on the 22nd, so it'll be the four of you. So unless you want the entire board here, we do it for the meeting following.
I think we should get right after this.
Okay.
For having
If you're in agreement to do it and not, that's fine with me. I'll do it either way. Does that sound like a plan?
That sounds like a plan, John. Let's just...
Yes.
You good?
Yes.
Mark, you good with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they owe these residents a...
Well, it's not only Dalton. This could be applied to all Western Mass here. We could be stopping a marketing campaign that's based on falsehoods and innuendos and false information.
Okay. So we don't need a vote on this. We already have the plan of what we want to do. And once we get the information from John, I'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting, and we'll get a hold of Berkshire Gas and ask him to be here with an explanation.
Well, thanks for bringing this to our attention.
Well, I want to thank the resident who contacted me about it.
And Chris Farrell still was Director of Public Relations and Marketing down there?
I have no idea. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'll put this. All right, next. I think we'll head for the master plan.
Oh, the master plan.
As long as you're ready, Ed. Because after that is
Okay.
some very quick, I believe.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Sam.
All right.
It did. I'll be back.
All right.
I'll get your email address.
So we are looking at our master plan from July of 2016, and it's more than 2 years into it. And as you probably remember, the master plan points out correctly that the town will face a challenge in the upcoming years balancing services that we currently offer with rising taxes and the tax levy. So with that in mind, it made a few suggestions about how we might be able to minimize tax increases in the town. And one of them, actions that's been suggested that the select board should be involved with is investigating sharing of administrative staff between the town and the fire district. And I was wondering if anyone has any thoughts on that, and does anyone think that's even doable?
Right now, I believe billing is billing shared.
We do the billing for the fire district for the taxes, but real estate and taxes, but not for the water.
Not for water. Is there a an agreement or charge or anything for that service that we
Yes.
do, or do they?
No. That needs to be revisited, and it's been the same for many years, and we have an agreement with the fire district for that. Probably should be revisited.
Well, that's the only one I know of, is that particular thing.
Okay. It's also been suggested at various times that the two separate entities should be combined, and I do recognize that there's a lot of problems with that idea, and the historical reason why the fire district is completely separate.
No, quite frankly, I don't remember
Why they're not?
what the reason is. I remember when they did.
Well, originally it was set up because they were supplying water to fight fires, and then they started supplying the water to the residents. So they would have clean water. The fires were, originally it was set up by the mills because they were wooden mills, and they had bad fires, and they needed a lot of water, and that's why we have like the reservoir and the sources of water out of Hinsdale, because of the pressure and everything helped fight the wooden fires at the mills. Then when there was concern that the water was possibly polluted, drinking water, they didn't want people to get sick, so they started giving drinking water to the residents of Dalton. But they owned a great deal of property because it was the collective water and protect the reservoir. So that came up as a separate thing. Sewerage and everything was then set up completely separately by the town at a later time. At one time, it was tried to look at where the two were become one. There are certain problems with that because they are exempt from the levy limit. And a number of times they would have really thrown us into a serious problem with the levy limit, because when they buy a fire engine or something, it's extremely expensive. So that doesn't count towards our levy limit when they go over the 2.5%. Now, the disadvantage of having it separately is we don't really have much input. They may decide they want to buy or need a fire engine. Obviously, I want them to be able to fight fires, but their timing may be as such that there'd be bigger tax increases to the town because we may be doing same particular project at the same time.
We used to appropriate X amount of dollars towards that years ago, before it was a separate item on the annual town meeting warrant.
Yep, a separate budget. Yep.
And it was a separate budget. It was a fire district. I don't forget what they called it. But just to give you a little history on that, and I can remember we would appropriate $50,000 or $70,000 or something like that, and it would be towards equipment. I don't think it was towards anything else. It would be specifically for the fire department, not the water department.
Right.
But just to give you some history.
Right, but I don't know whether there would really be any savings to try to combine the two in any way. More.
Well, I don't either without looking into it with more depth. I don't.
One of the things I noticed in the master plan is that the select board is listed to be involved in some of the projects. This is one of them. I noticed that TM, whoever that is listed the most often, the poor town manager. Somehow they must have been the default when we couldn't find some other committee to be involved in the project. Well, let me think about whether or not there's something could be done with that. I think the easiest thing is there any way where they have extra secretarial time or something that that could be shared, or we have, which I doubt.
They have one administrative assistant.
Right.
Yeah, they have. I don't think they have any of this. They may have somebody under the treasurer's office. They used to have a second person. I don't know if they still do, but they.
Oh, I've only seen one person over there lately, Sherry Cachet.
Yeah, that's it. There used to be two.
Yes.
But I don't think there is anymore. I'm just not sure at this point. We did at one time, when the Great Recession hit, and we were losing someone in the tax collector's office. We spent some considerable amount of time trying to combine those positions, and it just didn't work, so we dropped it. We couldn't come to an agreement on it.
Yeah, I don't know how it would work unless we actually, assimilate it here, and
And I would think that would be a problem.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think there'd be a lot of resistance with the fire department and all. All right, I think we should probably go on to the next one, which is develop a tax incentive for buying and improving older homes was suggested. I
don't understand that one. The tax incentive for a citizen to buy an older home.
Right, I guess they would get a tax break if they bought an older home, a bit of a discount initially or something.
Does it specify the...
This is a very short...
I might be able to...
Okay,
Where
good.
they were going on that, because HUD had a program at some point where they were offering discounts for people to buy foreclosed houses for teachers and police officers and stuff. So maybe they're talking about houses that the town has taken and given discounts to people to buy them.
Well, I think it was actually for, there's obviously there's a lot of old homes. I mean, the average home here is quite old. The average home was probably built before 1940 in this town. The majority of the homes. I think the idea is if they put certain improvements in them, whether it be like insulation or something, they would maybe be able to get a little write-off on their taxes or something, somehow. Make the house more livable, more affordable or something.
You can do that with Mass Save, though.
Well, it would be some type of a plan like we do, and that has to go through town meeting too. I don't know how you would set.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, it's an idea.
Let's see if I can find one that works. All right.
Keep going, Ed.
Keep going. All right. All right. Oh, well, here's one that we actually recently brought up, which I think I did. Develop and implement a plan to improve the ADA accessibility in the town hall, including the installation of an elevator, which is one that's very close to my heart, since I have a bad leg.
But I'd love to see it. I mean, I really would. I mean, when we were doing the renovations of this building, that was top priority. That was back when I was an employee here, and I was dismayed when it was voted down. That all can be put on a capital project again, and see what the town wants to do.
Could we try that for next May, or?
Yeah, we could.
Do I have any? Am I going to have one vote, or is it we?
Well, I think it's a consensus that we really need an elevator to find out what we would have to appropriate, because back then it was $250,000.
Yeah, but there were other things we threw in when we did it at that time. We were
there were other projects, but the actual elevator project, as I remember, was $250,000.
Really, that much?
No, it's like $650,000.
It was
you were doing renovations on the building too. You were doing other things, weren't you?
Yeah, the elevator itself
was really
because we will have to, wherever we put an elevator, you got to build a shaft, and it's probably got to go.
It was going to be external to the building here.
It's going to be external, but we're still going to disturb offices in the building, so you're rerouting.
We weren't going to put it up the shaft inside.
No. The final plan was in back of the tax collector's office.
Oh, okay. All right.
And it would have come out upstairs in the tower, about where I'm just on the other side of the health inspector's office, in that empty space up there, and it would have come out down below. It would have taken part of the maintenance director's office.
Yeah, okay.
So it's going to take out part of that office, take out part of the tax collector's office, and then come out upstairs.
Kim, when was that, about 10 years ago?
About 10 years ago.
And that was $600,000, so it's probably close to $1 million now.
Yeah. Unless we can find a way to do it.
Chain fall.
Yeah, it's awful.
Remember the old elevators you used to roll?
Come on.
Absolutely.
But all kidding aside, I think it's a project that's worthwhile to.
I'm really shocked that it would be that much.
Yeah.
I really thought that time that I saw the package, it had quite a few other items in it.
Yeah.
I would say it was probably only about 8 years ago.
No, it was longer than that because
That it was shut down at the town meeting.
I'm almost retired that
Well,
many
the
years,
reason
so-
I sort of know, because I only lived here for 8 years, and it was the first meeting I went to.
Really?
I could certainly dig it out and find out when it went to
Was
town.
that a town meeting vote? Or was that?
It was a
That was
town
a
meeting
ballot.
that would
It was a
not
ballot
allow.
vote.
It was a ballot
The
vote.
debt exclusion
It
was not approved.
people got up and said that they didn't want to have the exclusion, that it was going to, I think it was going to be for 17 years, and they said, well, that's the same thing as paying a lot more taxes, for 17 years.
Right.
It's the same thing.
It might have been part of a 20-year bond. I'd have to go back and.
There was also, as John said, there was a referendum ballot vote.
There were
With the
a
final
number of
authority.
things that we were voting on, and
Yeah.
I think there were like 6 or 8, and
Yep.
maybe 1 or 2 got voted in, and I don't
Right.
remember what they were.
Library improvements, I think, are about the only thing that survived the ballot.
Okay, all right. But it did go to a ballot vote.
Just a brief history on the elevator we proposed. It was going to go right out here.
Yeah.
We were going to lose a good deal of the very limited parking places.
But
that
we're
were
going to
already
get some
there.
new ones, right?
Oh, we're going to get
Yeah,
new ones. Yeah, next door. Work your way through the trees.
To leave this, not to leave it, but to just to say it's a project that we should do because it's
Right thing to
necessary
do.
for this town hall. It serves from the basement all the way up to the 3rd floor of the annex. It's still going to connect there, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a worthwhile project that we should do.
Okay. I only have 1 or 2 more real quick here. One suggestion that was to improve the education of the voters on the budget and the long-term effects of their decisions. I think we've all observed where people show up at the town meeting and they really don't know much of what the exact issue is, and they sometimes try to learn at that time 6 months worth of information, which is kind of awkward before the vote. I think that one time we talked about Facebook and postings, but there'd be some sort of electronic.
Do you do something on yours?
I do.
What do you do?
I post the agendas or stuff that's going on in the town. If there's breaks going on, or if there's going to be, that's the stuff I put in. I talked about it. I would like to do the town and do the police department, so the police department can post out things that are going on if there's breaks in the area. Same thing with the town, so we can post it. The agendas and the minutes, we can post it all right there.
Mark, how do you post this?
On Facebook, on my own, Mark Stroud, Town of Dalton Selectman.
The problem with doing the police department back when we were doing it or trying to do it was it has to be monitored constantly. Because if someone puts a complaint in there and it's never acted upon.
Yeah, I think all those things back years ago was an issue.
Yeah.
But I think now that almost every department has them now.
Yeah.
And they utilize them, and they say them right on the thing. If this is an emergency, you have to call 911. This is basically for us distributing stuff. We found a lost dog, or we're looking for a missing person, or that kind of stuff like that.
Okay.
But almost I would bet you 95% of the departments out there now have them, including the ones in Berkshire County. Cheshire has them, Lanesboro has it, Lee, Lennox, Pittsfield. I would say the full-time departments, the part-time ones.
Well, it's one of the things on our things for future agendas too, and I'm totally ignorant on the process of doing that. In fact, I'm not on Facebook anyways, but educating the public is paramount. Always is, and it never seems to be enough. So if this can help out, we really should try to do it. And I know I got your name on that, but it's just not a person that will be working on it.
As far as doing it for the town, it'll be a huge undertaking to do it for the town. It's easy for me to do it for myself and address issues that people come up with, but to do it as for the town of Dalton would be a huge undertaking for somebody. It's almost like it has to be part of the technology or whoever we have doing the.
Well, it sounds like you need a full-time employee to do it.
Somebody that's here working. Right. You don't need somebody full-time to do that specifically, but somebody who's here working that can blast the information out and stuff like that, that's here and working, you know.
Well, a solution? Not a solution.
I mean, that's the complaint that everybody, well, at least I've heard for years, is the lack of, people don't know where the stuff, and it's not. And with Facebook, at least for me, or any of the social medias, it's right there at your fingertips, right, looking at you right there. We had the brakes, we had some car brakes going on, and immediately pushed that out there, and a lot of people started, you know, oh, I saw this guy, we'll call the police department, let them know. If you see something suspicious, let them know. And that's the stuff that I like it for, as far as the community for Dalton, being able to put that kind of stuff up, pushing the farmer's market, or the stationery factory, or Grow Dalton, or that kind of stuff like that. That's the stuff that I push out there so people know what's going on.
All right.
Okay.
Now in the master plan, it says the town may wish to consider appointing an implementing committee that would help to organize efforts to implement the plan. There are a lot of suggestions in here that do not involve the select board, or do not even involve the town manager. There are committees that saying maybe they should look at this or that, some zoning changes, some committees will look at about attracting more businesses, different businesses, but we don't really have a group that's actually looking to see if anything is being done in those areas as part of this master plan. So I'm suggesting that we ask the planning board to be the one to oversee and contact those other committees to see if they're doing something on the master plan that was sort of assigned to them. Because we're over 2 years into the master plan, and we don't know really, haven't heard really from any of those other committees who suggested they take a look at some things. So I would propose that we ask the planning board to check on what the status is of those other items. I don't think I'm making it clear the way you.
No, I agree with
that.
I agree with that, and it's not even something I don't even think we have to appoint them as the official people, but we could address them to ask them to look.
Well, I happen to go to the planning board since I'm a member, so I will suggest that they follow up on that. I mean, they obviously were involved in helping to write the report.
Can you do that and get back to us on their feelings on that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, I could report at the next meeting because we will have a meeting in between.
When do you meet?
It should be a week from Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. Right. So I will do that, and I think that would be enough of that's the plan for tonight.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It gives us something to think about and hopefully try to work towards. Because
we really don't want to forget about it. And you know, the ones I was actually looking at were the ones that were suggested to be kind of done in the first 3 years. They have been another whole set of projects that should be done from the 5 to 7 year mark, and then the 8 through 9 and 10 year mark. So,
well, thank you again.
We have that to look forward to.
Thank you. Okay, Wacona School Building Committee and School Committee report. There isn't really anything to report on. There's a meeting on the 11th for the Wacona Building Committee Working Group and for the Wacona Building Committee. The working group starts at 3 p.m. The committee itself, the general committee, starts at 4:30 p.m. Both at Wacona, both in the library at Wacona. The school committee meeting is also the same day, October 11th, at 7 p.m. at Kittredge School. These are all open meetings to the public, and I encourage people to attend if they so wish. The only thing that maybe is of, because it's been talked about in past meetings here with the school committee, is in regard to the Cummington issue and their withdrawal. And right now, there has been nothing going on, and the school committee, or at least the subcommittee at this point in time, feels that it's on pause, because until Cummington makes some type of a move or request, there's nothing to do. We've already done what we had to do. So it's at a standstill. That's at a standstill.
Jen, the question I see most on the street out there, the people ask, when is this vote going to take place? This district-wide vote?
Oh, for the new school?
Yeah, and yeah, I'm not. Maybe there's not a set date, but I tell everybody it's next year.
Yes.
Would there be
it will be
assessment?
It will be, yes. It will be any time between, say, mid-March and very early June. That's the broadest window I can give you. I would think it would be in May, but until plans approved, MSBA approval, final costs are known, that date really hasn't been talked about specifically.
But the dates window you just mentioned, you're just right smack in the middle of town meeting season.
Yes, it is.
Is that a wise move?
It's a timeline that's set up by the MSBA.
Okay.
It has to be done by June, I believe.
I think mid-June might be too late even.
It's somewhere around there. That's why I said early June.
Okay.
So this timeline's not set up by the district. It's not set up by anyone. It's set up by the Massachusetts School Building Authority, the MSBA.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, they're the ones with the pocketbook and the reimbursement that they're going to.
So they kind of call the shots and set the procedure.
Yeah, the procedure is set up by them. It's a state procedure. So that's why there's no getting around it as for the time, because it's right in the middle of the school's setting their budget, we're setting our budget. Towns are going to vote on it at town meetings and then have elections. So it's going to be busy. And then this will be a separate election from town elections, like it was last time.
It's a difficult thing to explain to people out there. It's going to be one district-wide vote.
Yes.
Can win or lose by one vote.
Right.
It's not going to be 5 out of 7 towns.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the initial plan. And
it's not going to be a special town meeting. It's not going to be on the ballot.
I think that I'm trying to think if it has to be voted again by the school committee to do either the town-by-town vote or the district-wide vote. I don't think it does, because at the beginning of this process, they decided to do it that way with the feasibility study.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it transfers to whatever vote is done on
the same
project.
MO.
Yeah. So
that was my understanding too.
Yeah. So I can clarify that, because there was that question did come up, and I want to say it came up at the school committee. So I'm not 100%. I'm about 80% sure that's how it's going to go.
Yeah.
So
that's what we're here for. Is educating the public right now.
Right.
About this very matter.
So the time is short. I mean, it's October, and before you know it, the new year is going to be here. So brings us to town manager updates.
Brief, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I wanted to let you know the LED street lighting project continues to move forward at a rapid pace. The install date will be towards the end of November, with the installation being done primarily in December, going into January, with a wrap-up by the end of January. There's a 2-month time frame there. So right now, we're starting to issue purchase orders, and Tanko Lighting is helping us with that. We issued a purchase order for about $103,000 for the Cobra headlights. There's a lead time for the manufacturing of those lights. Our town planner is working on another smaller one for some of the decorative lights, and another one. Those will total about $30,000 for the decorative lights. And I executed the purchase and sale agreement with Eversource, and I'm waiting for it to come back from Eversource, signed by their appropriate official. the town will take possession of those streetlights on or about November 15th.
Good.
So that's all happening very quickly. Old Dalton High demolition, we had a meeting today, pre-construction conference with the contractor and the engineers. They are going to be on site this week. We're going to start with temporary fencing, mobilization of equipment, and clearing of trees and brushes. They'll start some inside work as well. You have to remove, if the building is not going to be all demolished as hazardous waste, they're going to go in there and remove the asbestos. Probably going to take the first street down. Once that's done, they're going to take the first street side down, and then they're going to take the Glen and Ave side down. It's still a 2-month process. We're going to be into mid-January before we're done with the demolition. And then they'll close up shop for the winter. They'll come back on site at the end of March and have it all done by mid-May, all of this site work.
Are the residents going to get a letter?
The residents today, about 130 letters went out to every resident within 500 feet of the school. We use the same standard we use for liquor licensing. So everybody should be getting a letter in the mail tomorrow.
A copy of the letter is in our mailbox.
It's in the mailbox. See that? Yeah, they're all out today. We met also with our fiscal advisor because we're going to be issuing bond anticipation notes almost immediately to finance the construction of the project. We'll, in June, issue permanent bonds. The bond anticipation notes will go into July. We'll issue permanent bonds in June, and then we'll pay off the bond anticipation note in July. It's going to be, of course, upwards of $1 million. We'll roll a few other things into that bond, and you'll, of course, get the bond anticipation note. You have to sign off on it, so it'll be coming before you. Related to the demolition of Old Dalton High is the continuing application we've had out there live for 3 years to try to improve the drainage in that area. And you probably remember there was one question related to what are you going to do about the flooding. So we're going to try to improve the flooding if we can be successful in getting the grant. Now, both MEMA and FEMA really want to help the town to get that grant, but in the end, we have to show that the benefits are greater than the costs. We lost one of the greater benefits. Taking down the school means the school won't be damaged, and that was one of the big benefits of avoiding flooding in the school, was potential damages to the school. So I think we have to dramatically scale back the project, and I'm going to meet with the engineers who helped us file the first application on Friday to go over what we could do differently to really scale. Right now, it's $1 million project. We scaled it back to $800,000 by taking out a detention basin, but we'll probably scale it back further. I'm not sure what that'll be. And that is the end of my report.
Thank you. All right, unless there's questions for Ken. Moving on, items for future agendas.
Got one time. Halloween.
It's on the date.
31st.
It's on the
But we
date.
put on the
it's
agenda to
observed,
announce it
which
as
is
usual.
The 31st.
Yeah, 40 hours.
Holy smokes, that's a rarity.
Suggested hours.
That went to a vote a long time ago.
Yeah, just
Very true.
not to bounce around and keep it on Halloween. Right.
Okay. We'll do a Halloween announcement.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, as for the master plan, I'm gonna take that off the items. The crosswalk lights, I'm gonna take that off for now, but that'll be a continual update. I'm gonna wait for you guys to get back to me. Okay. The rest of these things I'm going to leave on for now. Think about this too. The North Street APR agricultural plan. I'd like to get 2 board members, and I don't want to ask you now. I'd like to get 2 board members to. There's 1. There's 2. Okay. To get together and start working out a plan for using the property, whether it be forestry, whether it be the agriculture, the haying, or whatever. It's something written, because we have to submit something to the MDAR. Yeah, just something in writing for them, so that they can say, this is what Dalton has planned for that property. And it'll give us some type of guideline to go by, because if we do lease it out for farming or for forestry, we've got to go through that bidding process of having someone come in and do it. So that's great. And when you have something, and I'm not looking for it anytime real soon, but by the spring would be nice, so that we can give them something for the, because they made mention that the growing season. So let's get it ready for the growing season. How about that?
Okay.
Good. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. Other than that, anything else? I've got the Berkshire Gas for next meeting, if we can do it. And I'm going to put the elevator on here just as a reminder, so that if we can start doing something for town meeting, that would be great. Or at least have a plan like Ken, you were doing for capital projects, those 5-year plan type things.
Yeah, that needs to be, I need to update that.
Yeah, so. Okay, that's all I have, unless someone has something more for future agendas. Okay, remarks to the select board?
I have several.
Go ahead.
First of all, I want to thank you for all the work you've done on the school committees and the new school and everything else. It's just countless hours. It's
Well,
just
thank you.
above and beyond what you should be doing.
Thank you.
That's appreciated.
Thank you very much.
Next one's to Ken. We heard anything from the Berkshire Regional Planning as far as the North Mountain Park goes? Have they?
Yes, there was a site visit last week.
There was a site visit.
Yeah. By the environmental consultant.
Was there a result that we got to get a report?
Oh, not yet. We're still gathering information. So Becky is working on that with the consultant. She's getting some background
Okay,
information.
who was at the site meeting?
Ed Fahey, Becky Slick, Ed Fahey, the health agent, of course, Becky Slick, the town planner, and the representative of TRC. That's the environmental consultant.
Okay.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
We have like 120 days, didn't we, to get certain things done in regard to the old garage?
I've forgotten it. I have to check.
Yeah,
I didn't get anything in writing on that, though.
Yes, we did. We got an order to do certain things within 120 days, and that was probably in early August. Take out the drum that was there that was visibly leaking.
I don't remember seeing that.
I saw that from
I remember
the
a
DEP.
report, but I don't remember a timeline.
Yeah.
We're talking about different barrels here?
Yeah.
We're talking about the barrels over by the old landfill? Or we're talking about...
No, I'm talking about the landfill. No, I'm talking about what they saw in...
Up at North Mountain?
Yeah.
I don't remember any deadlines.
I'll check the official communication.
That was very clear to me when I read that letter.
Well, maybe so. Let's check.
And then also about the oil tank. They thought there was an oil tank, and they said that had to be removed.
I know that those were things mentioned, but I just...
That's not exactly, because I was up at the site. And he said if we didn't do anything with it right away, it was fine to stay there until we figured out what we were doing with the property.
That was the original visit, but that wasn't what the letter said that came from his boss.
Okay, let's,
We need to review that letter.
Find out what's going on. We shouldn't be really talking about it too much.
All right.
I have a couple more.
Go ahead.
The energy credits we're supposed to get from Cal Power is October now.
Yeah.
Where does that stand?
It's probably not going to start until November. And I can, if you want to, as an item for future agenda, I'll give you a full report next time or the time after that.
Okay. Because that was one of their big selling points to us. They said they'd be ready by October.
Yep. And I think there may be some in October. I'm not sure yet.
Okay. And one other ridiculous question was, is there anything that can be done with that South Street Bridge?
Which bridge?
The one that
gets hit all the time?
All the time, yeah.
That's why we have that $70,000 sign down there, but evidently they're going the wrong way.
Yeah, well, it got hit again the other day.
I heard. Can anything be done? Not without an act of Congress, because the railroads are an independent authority. We couldn't even get permission to paint the bridge years ago.
Yeah, but they won't help the town out at all, knowing that's a danger to the town.
We tried to get lighting underneath there when we did South
Are you
Street.
kidding me?
They told us
won't even
no.
do that?
You can't lower the pavement, you can't lower the pavement, because they say no. I mean, anything around that bridge, they have jurisdiction on. It's just, that's it.
They wouldn't let us put the sidewalk up to the bridge.
No.
Or the sidewalk underneath.
No.
Has anybody approached them lately, or?
What would happen if we started billing them every time we had to go down there?
Well, they come out. Oh, you mean for the police?
If the police had to go down there, what would happen if we started billing them for everything?
Probably wouldn't pay it. I'm sorry, but you know, it's an age-old,
I know.
an age-old problem. I mean, it's like,
But it's, somebody's gotta get seriously hurt there sometime.
Yep.
And it's just something that could be avoided. Okay, that's all I have, sorry.
okay. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Which brings us to announcements. A special voter registration session will be held on Wednesday, October 17, 2018, from 9 a.m. until 8 p.m. at the Dalton Town Hall, 462 Main Street, the town clerk's office. This will be the last date to register to vote at the state election on Tuesday, November 6, 2018, to be held at the Dalton Community House, excuse me, 400 Main Street, Dalton, Mass. A link to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts website, which allows voters to check their voter registration status, can be found at www.dalton/ma.gov. Click on the town department's town hall, town clerk, elections, and click the link to voter registration. Note also that early voting will be available from Monday, October 22nd, 2018 through Thursday, October 25th, 2018, and Monday, October 29th, 2018 through Thursday, November 1, 2018 from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. in the office of the town clerk, Town Hall, 462 Main Street, Dalton, Mass. For further information, please call 413-684-6111, extension 14 or 15. The Fitch Whose House is now open through October on Saturdays from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. I hold office hours by appointment in the Select Board office at the Town Hall. For further information, please call 413-684-6111, extension 11, or my home number at 413-684-2526. I just want to add, too, if you can't make it to the Town Hall, I'll make it to you. The Conservation Commission is looking for new members. If interested, please contact the Town Manager's office at 684-6111, extension 11. The Dalton Beautification Commission is seeking volunteers to assist in maintaining the Commission's established garden spaces in the community. If interested, please contact the Town Manager's office at 684-6111, extension 11. State Representative Paul Mark holds office hours at the Dalton Town Hall, 462 Main Street in the Callahan Room on Tuesdays from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. with the exception of the third Tuesday of each month. On the third Tuesday, office hours are 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Town Hall and from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the Dalton Senior Center. You can reach his office at his district number, which is 413-464-5635. I declare that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body.
I move we go in executive session to conduct a strategy session in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel and not return to open session.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote. Mr. Boyle?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Bishop?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Bartels? Yes. We are in adjournment for a couple minutes.